My name is Bill Novelli, and I'm with the Global Social Enterprise Initiative, and I have the pleasure and honor of introducing a woman named Novelli. And we just had a little chat, and we tried to decide whether or not we were related, and we have decided that there is a region of Italy, it's due east of Rome, over by the Adriatic, it's called Abruzzo, and that our distant forebears both came from that region. So I want to introduce my distant cousin, Catherine Novelli. She is the Undersecretary of State for Economic Growth, Energy, and the Environment. She leads the department's policy efforts in economic development, energy, oceans, environmental science, and technology. She's also the State Department's Senior Coordinator for International Information Technology Diplomacy. Previously, she was the Vice President for Worldwide Government Affairs at Apple, where she was responsible for Apple's international, federal, state, and local government relations and public policy. Undersecretary Novelli also served as Assistant U.S. Trade Representative for Europe and the Mediterranean, which involved major trade negotiations in Europe, Russia, the Middle East, and North Africa. Last spring, she was here with us for the Sustainable Oceans Alliance Summit, a Georgetown student-led forum on preserving the world's oceans. And there, she was awarded the Alliance's Changing the Tide Award for her commitment to protecting ocean environments. We're very pleased to have the Undersecretary back at Georgetown. Please join me in welcoming Undersecretary Catherine Novelli.
Thank you very much, it's very nice to be here with the hardy souls who are here after so many amazing days of talking about this issue, which is critical for all of us. That is the Climate and Clean Energy Investment Forum. And I know that you've spent the 2 days hearing from smart and serious policymakers, investors, entrepreneurs, and people have talked about the challenges and opportunities that are before us when it comes to climate financing and clean energy deployment, adaptation, mitigation, and all of the issues that are surrounding this. So what I thought I could focus on as the closing of this conference is what is it that all of us can do to ensure that clean energy becomes an even larger part of the world's energy mix. As Secretary Kerry mentioned yesterday, the old bromide that we have to trade off between growth and environmental protection has thankfully been disproven. So we're now at a point where meeting growing energy needs and protecting the environment can go hand in hand, and where we can actually do this in a financially sustainable way. So the challenge is really for all of us is to think about how we can build the partnerships between industry, government, civil society, and every other actor to put in place the right policies that are going to make the widespread deployment of clean energy a reality. And we know that there's a real economic development market here to be developed, and so what we need to do is seize the opportunity. And we also know that the world's population is going to significantly expand in the coming decades, which is going to mean a huge new demand for electricity and an unprecedented opportunity for clean energy. According to the OECD, by 2050, the world's population will hit 9 billion people, up from 7.3 billion today. So if we're going to provide energy to the 1.3 billion people who currently don't have it, plus add in an extra 2 billion more people, we're going to have to create massive amounts of energy. And what the OECD study also tells us is that to meet this new demand by 2050, we are going to have to generate 80% more energy than we do today. And interestingly, the Pew Clean Energy Initiative has said that in the next 15 years, we can expect the world to add about 5,500 gigawatts of electricity capacity, which is the equivalent of all the power generation that exists today. So this is a huge expansion that's going to come our way. And in order to bring this energy and energy infrastructure online, the estimate is that it's going to take about $7.7 trillion in energy investments, and 2/3 of that, happily, is projected to be in clean energy. And about half of the new capacity that's expected to come online is expected to come from clean energy. And the good news is that this projected growth is expected to occur despite the inconsistent patchwork of regulations and policies that are currently in place today. So think about what can happen if we do have a much more consistency globally in policy. We also know that innovation is playing a key role here. Over the past decade, technological innovations and new financial instruments have created this market for clean energy products, and together these innovations are transforming the renewables industry. So two of the most significant advances have been in storage and in distributed energy systems, or the off-grid solutions that folks were just talking about. With respect to storage, the CEO of First Solar, which is one of the world's largest solar development companies, has predicted that while solar panels alone won't immediately power entire countries, rapid advances in storage and other technologies could enable this to happen by 2040. New home battery products, including the one that Tesla Engineering is rolling out, could also be game changers. This is the first time that long-term battery storage as a solution has been created for broad public use. In addition, off-grid solutions are disrupting how energy is produced and used. Off-grid solutions include small-scale power generators like the solar panels on home roofs, where electricity generation was once the sole responsibility of utilities. Off-grid technologies are upending this model, allowing individuals to generate their own clean power and sell the excess back to the grid. The International Energy Agency is estimating that if everyone on Earth were to gain electricity by 2030, more than half of the new electrical connections would be through off-grid solutions. We expect that the vast majority of these new connections will come from renewable energy, because the cost of low carbon technologies are going to make it cheaper and easier to get electricity from these sources than from fossil fuels. But technology alone isn't enough to transform the energy mix. These new forms of energy production have to be bankable. And the market has to respond, and it has responded here, and you've heard about this just in the panel previously, with new financial innovations alongside of the new technology. These include things like green bonds and standardized contracts, pooling of investments to identify new asset classes or securitization, and global funds solely dedicated to clean energy products. So we know that this financing has begun to scale up. So going forward, what does this mean? Going forward, governments need to do more to create policy environments that can catalyze investment in clean energy. And we know that different policy prescriptions are going to be needed for different countries. However, there are some common areas that we should be prioritizing. The first one is making clean energy investments more competitive. Second one is developing wholesale energy markets for clean energy. And the third is linking energy efficiency policies with ones that support clean energy investments. And I know Secretary Muniz talked about that earlier. Investors are far more likely to invest in clean energy sectors where rules do not favor fossil fuels over other types of energy. It makes little economic sense to invest tens of millions of dollars into a clean energy project if you know before you've invested your first penny that a country's regulations ensure that fossil fuels are always going to be a cheaper alternative. Similarly, energy policies that only provide subsidies to electricity delivered all over a grid will scare off investors interested in growing clean off-grid energy delivery systems. And policies that favor single-source energy producers over independent or off-grid producers will slow growth in the clean energy sector. So off-grid clean technologies that enable many different actors to generate electricity that's often cleaner and cheaper than conventional energy production must be incentivized. Policies that let markets dictate a country's energy mix are much more likely to spur investments in the clean energy sector. Finally, more needs to be done to explicitly link the energy efficiency with clean energy policies, as I said, because efficiency has been called a low-hanging fruit of the challenge to both meet our energy needs and reduce our carbon footprint. Energy efficiency technologies themselves are growing and they are becoming a lucrative product market. And linking clean energy policies with energy efficiency products can help us grow this sector as well. So today, the administration is trying to mainstream these policy prescriptions here at home. And this past August, the President laid out a plan for accelerating our transition to clean energy, to a clean energy economy, based upon a new goal to increase the share of renewables in the U.S. electricity generation mix to 20% by 2030. But just the United States taking action isn't enough. We need to do much more. And since we're from the State Department, we are looking at what we need to do outside the U.S. And we are going to continue to advocate for programs and policies that support and prioritize clean energy development. And just a few examples of this. We're going to encourage countries to integrate clean energy as a key part of their own national development strategies and to develop good policies that will enable the clean energy environment, such as the ones I've already talked about. Currently, there are renewable energy support policies found in 145 countries. However, the majority of these policies focus on growth in only specific sectors. So they might talk only about power or heating or cooling or transportation. There's only a handful of countries that have set economy-wide, countrywide targets for renewable energy deployment, and we really need to get that number up. Secondly, we're going to encourage the international finance and development institutions and agencies like the banks, the EBRD, the World Bank, et cetera, the African Development Bank, to increase their portfolios of clean energy and renewables. They are financing a lot of energy, but not enough of it is clean energy. Third, we are going to encourage and support innovative industry-driven solutions to provide clean energy technologies. And part of that is going to be not interfering with technological development and letting it really run. So in conclusion, it is encouraging to see the global market for clean energy technology and distribution moving forward. And it's encouraging to see it moving ahead on its own, even in the more chaotic policy environment. But we know that we can do more to accelerate the growth of the market so that we're going to be able to meet the world's growing energy demand and not overheat the earth. Setting the right policy foundation and providing clarity to investors that will allow the clean global energy market to exponentially accelerate is what we are aiming to do. And that is going to require not just the U.S. government, but everybody in this room working together to move in this direction. So I hope that you will all join me in making this a reality. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Undersecretary Novelli, hopefully one day Secretary Novelli. Thank you for joining us and for giving us all the call to action, because now it is time to not just take the road to Paris, but through. And hopefully we will hear back from all of you as well coming outside of Paris on the other end of it. All of this would not happen without the tremendous effort of several people, and that includes, led by the State Department's Office of Global Partnerships, Drew O'Brien, Tomas Dabas, Ned Sibelius, and Melanie Nakagawa. Our team at the Global Social Enterprise Initiative, particularly our director for this event, Chris Klaish, and our associate director and team, Natalia Galloway, Bickley, Charlie Tisdale, pardon me, and very much so, we have about 20 Global Social Enterprise student leaders from across the university, many of whom you have all seen throughout the day, and they are the next generation who will be following your footsteps as well. So please encourage them, as you already have, to continue on. I want to give you one final note. Some people were making comments about the plastic cups. I will say lunch was served by the first eco-friendly caterer in the country occasions. So you had an eco-friendly lunch. On that note, I hope you also seek out an eco-friendly dinner and cocktails. So thank you all. Enjoy. We hope to see you back here.